Hello everyone, Oli here, and this is my review of parts 1 to 4 of The Trial of a Time Lord, which is entitled The Mysterious Planet. The first story of the 23rd season of classic Doctor Who, starring Colin Baker as the 6th Doctor, and this is his final season. The Mysterious Planet is the 144th story overall, it's 4 parts long, and is written by Robert Holmes, and this is the last story that he actually writes in full before he passes before the end of the making of this season. So the Mysterious Planet is pretty much the first installment of A Trial of a Time Lord, which is Doctor Who's second season long storyline, and for this season the Doctor is standing trial for crimes he's committed, which includes interfering in the events of other planets. Although the Mysterious Planet is actually named the Mysterious Planet in the title sequence, as is actually named Trial of a Time Lord with parts 1 to 14, which does kind of make it out as if it's like one long story, but personally I count them all as individuals, 4 individual stories, as they all have different production blocks, and for brevity's sake, so I don't exhaust myself doing all 14 parts in one sitting for as a review, so that would pretty much like exhaust me if I did that. So the plot of this story is as follows, and the Trial of a Time Lord. The Doctor is on trial for his life. Plucked out of time and space by the Time Lords, he is charged with transgressing the first law of time. He must defend himself against the prosecution led by the sinister Valiard. And that's the plot of Trial of the Time Lord and the overall plot for this story. The trial begins as the Time Lords review an adventure from the Doctor's recent past. The setting is Ravlox, where the Doctor and Perry find themselves caught in a conflict between a warrior tribe, a pair of intergalactic conmen, and a godlike robot. But deep below the surface of the mysterious planet lies secrets that threaten the very fabric of the universe. And to protect them, drastic measures have been taken that will shock the Doctor to his very core. So that is the plot of the Mysterious Planet. My thoughts on the Mysterious Planet? I personally think that the Mysterious Planet is a very good story, and I think it's a very big improvement from most stories from the 22nd season, and I honestly think that the Mysterious Planet is the best story of the Trial of the Time Lord season. And I think the production was quite good. It's pretty much Doctor Who goes back to basics, but with different changes, so to speak. But as the 45-minute format for the stories have pretty much been retired, and we won't see another 45-minute story until the revival. So now we're back to 25 minutes from here until the end of Classic Who, and the location filming was very well done, especially now the Doctor Who is now being filmed on videotape as opposed to it being shot on film as it has been since pretty much since the first Doctor era. And I think it makes the picture look very cleaner and more cleaner, especially during location shoots where at times it looked quite grainy during location shoots, and now that effect has been gone, which is I actually do kind of miss. It does give off that film feel to it, but there's a nice welcome feel to have it being filmed on videotape now. And I like the sets of the Marble Arch station, which is called Mob Station here, where most of the story actually took place, and especially how the outside of the station looked quite abandoned, and obviously the inside of the station, like the deeper parts of Mob Station where Drathwell was, looked quite futuristic and very clean, which is a nice little contrast, so to speak. Okay, and I think another scene that deserves a shout out is the opening scene of this story where we're in space and we see the space station and we see the TARDIS getting pulled down inside the space station, and then that's how the Doctor ends up in the courtroom. I think that's a very I think this is obviously made with computers. I think that's probably one of the scenes that actually stands out from the Trial of a Time Lord season, because the effect here, obviously it was made with computers, so it looked very much something you'd see from a Hollywood movie in the 1980s, and I honestly do think this was John Nathan Turner's way of giving the middle finger to Michael Grade, who pretty much criticized Doctor Who for their special effects looking too cheap. Was comparing it to the Hollywood movies, which obviously had bigger budgets and whatnot, which is something that Michael Grade was actually allocating the budget towards. We also had a new theme tune for this story for this season, as the 1980 theme tune has been retired, and we have a new theme tune which has been made, which is makes things which makes it sounds a little darker, more serious compared to how the 1980 theme was. So just basically a little remix. So it's been in the 1980s way. So the title sequence from Colin Baker's season actually remains the same. So that was quite good. The script was quite good, even though there were some elements that were reused. And but the direction by Nicholas Mallet was quite good as well. And I think the plot was actually quite good, although the Mysterious Planet wasn't exactly an original plot, as it does have similarities to the Croton, dating all the way back to Charlton era, and not coincidentally, this is actually that was the first story that Robert Holmes actually wrote for Doctor Who, as both plots contain intelligent characters being taken from their respective society, but to be used by robots and machines. And another similarity is the face of evil in the Tom Baker era. Even though Robert Holmes didn't actually write that, but he was the script editor during that season, and this was where both stories have mundane objects slash routines were pretty much treated as religion, or just treated as some sort of like ancient tradition or religion or some forth. And in this story, there were three books that were like the three modern day books that were saved from the fireballs from how when Ravlox was being destroyed, and the three books were Moby Dick. No, it was pronounced Moby Dick. I think there's another book, The Water Babies, and the third book, which is oddly enough, The UK Habitat of the Canadian Goose, which was written by the government, and they were all kept by Balazar, who named himself as the reader of books. I also like the mystery of how if Revlox was really Earth or not, and we did have some clues alluding to Revlox actually being Earth, with the major clue being Marble Arch Station. But then we actually find out that the Ravlox was Earth, and it was destroyed by the fireballs. Was destroyed by fireballs and was renamed Ravlox. Because Earth was pretty much moved 2 million miles away. So we find out the reason why this was done later on in the season. And the overarching plot of this season was actually quite good. So as I said before, Trial of the Time Lord is Doctor Who's second season long storyline, with every story adding to the overarching plot this season has. So here, the Doctor is standing trial in front of the Time Lords once again for crimes he has supposedly committed, and he's likely to be executed if found guilty. And obviously, the Doctor is standing trial for interfering in different events, and obviously he's being accused here of interfering with the events of Ravlox. And we do get some indicators that this trial isn't what it's made out to be, even as earlier in the Valiard was pretty much editing some footage, as he claims that it wasn't actually relevant for the trial. And the Doctor suspects that something fishy is going on, and he's right. Says the trial is not what it seems, and we find out what that is later on. And you do get indicators that things are really not what they seem, and once the Doctor does find out what's going on, things just pretty much just hit the fan afterwards. But and there were some good moments in the story, especially the opening scene, where the TARDIS is being put into the space station with its impressive computer CGI work. And the Doctor wandering out of the TARDIS as well, as if he was like in a trance. He snaps out of it when he ends up in the courtroom where he meets the Valiant and the Inquisitor. The part 2 cliffhanger was quite intense, and this is where, even though it was quite redundant, because the cliffhanger pretty much was as a result of was pretty much featured in the evidence, which was a bit weird, so to speak. So here's what happens: the Doctor, Perry, Glitz, and Dibber were on the run from Katrika's guards, and they will retreat to Mob Station, where they meet Jafro's guards and some robots, and they try to leave, but then Katrika's guards were on the top of the stairs, and the Doctor pretty much said this could really be the end. So that was an intense cliffhanger. It was quite well acted as well. So onto the performances, which I thought were quite good. Colin Baker was brilliant in this story, and this season sees some of his best performances as the Doctor, and I really like how the Doctor here is a lot more nice and a lot more pleasant. And he's definitely at his best here compared to other stories, and it was quite evident he's not actually bickering with Perry, and he's a lot less arrogant. Even though there are still hints of bits of his arrogance being there, but then Perry would usually tell him off for it, but then here she just like smiles and just laughs it off. And in fact, this is actually the only story where they don't actually have any form of argument or where he is actually belittling her. And when they arrive at Ravlox, they're pretty much arm in arm, having a discussion about how Ravlox is similar to Earth, and it's very nice to see. And this is another example and another example of how the Doctor is actually more nicer to Perry, and he was actually comforting her about the prospect that Earth was destroyed by sympathizing with her. I did like how at one point when the Doctor was knocked out and he regained consciousness and he was starting to act like the fourth Doctor when he was offering jelly babies. Even during the actual trial hearing, whenever I do like how the Doctor was pretty much defending himself whenever all points was being made against him. And I also liked how he was pretty much insulting the Valiard by what he means necessarily calling him Valley, well, not like boatyard, dockyard, knackers yard, and so forth. I thought that was quite funny, even though Colin Baker himself didn't actually quite like that. Nicola Bryant was good here as well. Perry doesn't actually do a great deal here, but she has undergone some very drastic changes compared to the last time we saw her. And obviously, Perry is no longer wearing any figure fitting outfits complete with cleavage or any midriff showing, and she's dressing more conservatively here and in Mind Warp, which obviously I think it was obviously a complaint that some viewers had made, and I think it made sense here because Perry is pretty much maturing in a way. And I would say this is probably her during probably traveling with the Doctor for a very long time, and her and the Doctor are no longer bickering as such. And even when the Doctor's being boastful, as I said before, Perry will literally just laugh it off, whereas the Perry they just told him off for being arrogant. So it's nice to see the Doctor and Perry are pretty much enjoying each other's company. The Perry effect isn't really prevalent here, but there was one. I think this is one of the very few stories where it is like that. But there is a scene where Katrika actually finds Perry, or Katrika's guards actually find Perry, and then she makes a comment to Perry saying that she'll make a good housewife for several of her husbands, which was their tribe, but was quite questionable as well. So there are two characters that appear regularly in this season, and there are Time Lords present in the trial. First off is the Inquisitor, and the expanded media actually gives the name Darko, and she's basically the judge proceeding over the trial, and she's played by Linda Bellingham. She was rather good in the story, and she was quite good in the season as well. I liked how she pretty much remained impartial throughout, even though I do feel like she was secretly siding with the Doctor at times, but yeah. But I did like how she was very impartial. And of course, the second Time Lord is the Valiard, and he's the big bad of the season. So he's basically the Doctor's prosecutor, and he basically wants him found guilty by any means possible. He's played by Michael Jaston, and he was brilliant here and in the season. And the identity of the Valiard I actually won't reveal until the end of this season for the review pacing, for the sake of pacing the reviews, and I would expect also the fans to know who he is. So let's not see anything for until I get to the final story of the season. So on to the side cast, and they were all really good. So first off, we have Sabalom Glitz. He's a notorious criminal who's in prison for obviously doing crimes, and I think he even attempted to kill a psychiatrist at one point. And so he and his accomplice Dib arrive on Ravlox to recover some secret information and about the Matrix, which was held by Jafro. Glitz planned on destroying the black light system, which was a totem pole seen by Katrika and her guys. As I know, that totem pole was pretty much giving Jafro energy, so he can. And so he once that's destroyed, he's able to get the secrets. And the reason why we will reveal later on. He's played by Tony Selby, and we do get to see more of Sablon Glitz in this season and the following season as well. And I think he's a very good character, quite comedic as well. And then we have Dibber. He is Glitz's young accomplice, and he was able to destroy the black light with a grenade, and he doesn't actually appear afterwards in this season. So this is the only time he actually appears in. Then we have Katrika. She was the leader of the tribe called the Free, and they were seen as savages who simply did not understand technology, but they wanted that Jafro destroyed so she can use the technology for herself. She imprisoned Glitz and Dibber and later Perry when they arrived, and she didn't like sky travelers, and she pretty much led the rebellion of her people, and she was electrocuted and killed by Jafro. She is played by June Sims, who is a very accomplished actress, and she was said to have not liked her role in the story. Then we have Merdine. He was a servant of Jafro, and he was a leader of the guard, a mob station called the UK Habitat. He was secretly helping people escape to the Trouble of the Free, and when he was caught up by Grell, but he killed Grell before raising the alarm, and he aided the Doctor in stopping Jafro, and he was played by the same guy that played what's his name in Duggan in the City of Death. And we have Balazar. He was the so-called reader of the three books and the books of knowledge of the UK Habitat. He escaped onto the surface, and Katrika allowed him to join the Free. Then we have Broken Tooth. He was Katrika's right-hand man, and he was originally a member of the UK Habitat and joined the tribe of the Free. And then he recognized Balazar and shot when he shot a robot, which led them getting captured. He helped Katrika to plunder Jafro's secrets, and he was later killed when he tried to save Katrika. And then lastly, we have Humker and Tandro. They were personal servants of Jafro. They looked very similar to one another. They were both blonde, so it was a bit difficult to tell them apart. And after Jafro died, they went to live on the surface. So that's now a sidecast. And the main enemy of this story was Drathro, also known as the Immortal. Drathro was an L3 maintenance robot that was originally made to watch the sleepers and their secrets during suspended animation. So this is what he actually looks like. He and Mob Station were powered by a black light converter on the surface, which was actually decaying, and made the Doctor repair the converter, who said it needed to be shut down as it could actually destroy the universe. He refused, thinking that humans would serve no purpose without him, and he also had information about the Matrix, which is what Glitz and Dib were after. Trafford was destroyed along with the information when he was lured into the ship, thinking that there was still black light in there. He was a very interesting villain, a mere ordinary machine of heightened importance, very interesting indeed. So I think it's probably one of the more interesting villains in this season. The Valiant is the villain here, but then he's the overarching villain. I'll get more onto him when I reach the Ultimate 4. So onto the fault of the story. I do think that part 4 actually does lose some momentum, as the pacing does slow down a bit, and the cliffhangers, especially parts 2 and 3, which saw the Doctor and other characters in danger in the evidence used by the court, but I think that was a bit redundant. So to conclude, I think The Mysterious Planet is a return to form for Doctor Who after 18 months off air, including as it introduces the Time of the Tri-Lord season very well. And I liked how the mystery introduced in this story pretty much keeps us at the end on the edge of our seats for the remainder of this season. So I give The Mysterious Planet a 9 out of 10. My next review will be parts 5 to 8 of Trial, and this is called Mind Warp, which sees the departure of Perry and the Doctor suspects that something is up. So thanks for watching. Please let me know what you thought of this story and this review. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Until then, see you later.